Good evening. Tonight I'm going to be informing you on the drug problem that our country is currently facing, some of the statistics and some of the solutions that I believe could be viable for it. So just going over any drug overdose charts, I'm sure you'll be alarmed to see the drastic increase just over the last couple of years, really. The first time that the drug overdose number in 1 year went over 20,000 was 2001, and it was steadily increasing since then until about 2019 when the drug fentanyl was heavily introduced onto the black market. And the most recent statistics of 2020 is 91,799 overdose deaths in the country. And so that's just a shocking statistic there, and that's so almost 2.5% of all deaths in the country are drug overdoses. I mean, that alone is just a very, very shocking statistic to think about how many unnatural deaths could have been prevented or are caused by using drugs incorrectly. There's been a lot of efforts to combat this problem, but none of it really seems to be making a huge help. This isn't only a crisis for the individual using or the medical industry or the pharmaceutical companies, but it's also an issue for the entire world. Everyone's affected. Since drugs were introduced to society, officials and doctors have been preaching to the public not to touch substances, but a lot of people won't listen to someone who they don't relate to at all, or maybe doesn't have the same experiences as them. I think that working with government officials in Washington, D.C. is extremely beneficial, but I think that they could use definitely some new approaches, maybe going more mainstream routes. And so going into fentanyl, so fentanyl is a relatively recent drug to the public. It's introduced a couple of years ago, and the number of overdose deaths have just skyrocketed since it's been on the market. I personally know many people that have passed away from fentanyl overdoses accidentally. And it's really just a really scary thing, because you could have someone, that doesn't usually use drugs or something, that does it one time, and then that's all it takes. And so really there's a couple of methods to combat this issue, because it's inevitable that a lot of times young people won't use drugs, and so it's very imperative that we have methods to combat this. So a couple of them would be setting up testing stations at different events or festivals or so you can see exactly what you're putting into your body and make sure that it's not some deadly chemical. Another option would be the decriminalization route, which would potentially would take the risk out of getting these substances, because they may be more regulated, and it's not as black market. So in closing, really, there has to be something done quick about this problem in our country, because it just can't be ignored any longer. And there's a good effort, but there's definitely needs to be more, because this for sure is a crisis that our country is facing, and it's only going to get worse and worse as time goes on, and as society, parts of it weaken and people are struggling to work. It's just going to get worse. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope you learned about it. Thank you.